To be productive is to produce results or yield benefits. Managing your time well doesn't guarantee that you will be productive. We all know that we can be disciplined, manage our time well, and be busy, but not actually be productive or get the results that we were looking for. We're just kind of filling our time and not being intentional with what we're actually doing. I have always been a planner. I've loved all things time management. I've always been, I guess you could say, a time management geek. But I came to a point where I found myself saying, why don't I have the results I want? And there's actually a system and a framework we can follow in order to get the results that we're actually seeking. Welcome to my series, Stay Productive and Healthy. I am on a journey to having my most productive and my healthiest year yet, and I'm sharing the things that I've learned along the way. Now, productivity is more than time blocking and using different methods. But when you think about productivity, I would think about it in terms of a garden. In a garden, you have seed, soil, and water. The seed is your goal, okay? The water is your actions, and the soil is your heart and your mind. In a garden, you need to have the right environment for that seed to grow. So, in terms of your productivity, in order for you to accomplish your goals and bear fruit, produce, be productive, you need to have the right environment. You need to have the right heart. You need to have the right mindset. And you need to be watering that seed. You need to be putting in the correct actions in order to see the plant grow, in order to see the results that you want. You are now a gardener, okay? And know that you will reap harvest in due time. You will bear fruit. The thing that I love about this garden analogy with productivity is that when you're taking care of a garden, you know that once the seed is in the soil and you start watering it, it's going to grow and you're going to be able to harvest. It's going to bear fruit. And with productivity, you're focused more on doing the right things and making sure your seed is nurtured and that your soil is right so that it can flourish and grow. Because if you have the right environment, you will bear fruit. If you have the right environment, you will reap a harvest in due time, no matter how long it takes. So focus on the process and not the end result, because you know the end result is going to happen. You know the fruit is going to appear. You know the harvest is going to come. So it's more about the process and not the results. The framework that we can follow to ensure that we get the results that we actually want and that we're seeking for starts off with getting a mentor. You need a mentor, okay? Going back to the garden analogy, a mentor will tell you how often you need to water your seed, how much sunlight your seed needs, and what kind of soil you need to use, and where the best place to put it is. A mentor will give you the blueprint, the play-by-play in order to accomplish your goal and do the thing that they did. Like when you get a mentor, make sure you choose the right person to mentor you. Because when you go to them, you are getting their advice, their guidance, and getting a blueprint on how to accomplish the results that they got. Proverbs 26:16 tells us that lazy people consider themselves smarter than 7 wise counselors. When I read this passage, this verse, I felt very convicted because it says lazy people consider themselves smarter than 7 wise counselors. And I'm sorry to say this, or actually, no, I'm not. I'm not sorry to say this, but I say it with love. If you refuse any type of mentorship or guidance, then you are being lazy. And I was thinking about this. I'm not going to do a full Bible study on y'all today, but I was thinking about this and I'm like, what would be lazy about not getting guidance or counselors? And when I was thinking about it, I was reading through the whole passage of Proverbs and it compares the lazy person with the diligent person. And the diligent person takes instruction and direction and they get knowledge and wisdom. But the lazy person, they're very sluggish and they're slow, which I'm also going to touch on in a minute. But they're very sluggish, they're very slow, and they don't really want to do anything. So when I was thinking about it, after getting my own, sorry y'all, I keep hitting the microphone. After getting my own mentor in different areas, I realized that when you get a mentor, like I said, they're giving you a blueprint, they're giving you a play-by-play, and that comes with instruction, action items, things that you have to do. And if you're lazy, you're not going to want to do those things. And you're like, oh, I can do it a different way, an easier way that works better. I think there's a difference between not wanting to get any guidance and wanting to do it yourself, research it yourself, and then wanting guidance but can't afford it. I think if you can afford to get a paid mentorship, do that. I think face-to-face mentorship, talking to someone is way better than just doing research on your own. But if you can't find anyone to talk to, if you can't find a mentor that will be able to speak to you, help you with different things without charging, then research is your way to go. Just make sure that when you're doing your research, you're looking at people who are doing what you want to do and actually know what they're talking about. Because people, I feel like in today's day and age, there's so many people who are commenting on different things, but they may not know everything about that industry or that area that you're looking at. So just make sure you're choosing the right person to mentor you or the right person to take guidance and advice from. The second piece of this framework is to act quickly. Now, I touched on this a little bit, but scripture tells us in Proverbs 10:4, he becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. It also tells us in Proverbs 13:4, the soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. If you move too slowly, with no sense of urgency or diligency, then you significantly lower your chances of accomplishing your goals. And I want to say, really, based on these scriptures, that if you move too slowly, that you probably won't accomplish them at all. You probably won't accomplish them at all. And I know that's tough to hear. I say it with love, but it's true. If you move too slow, your chances of accomplishing your goals, doing what you set out to do, being successful, they decrease by a lot. And that's for a number of factors. Now, I do want to say don't move hastily. There's a difference between acting quickly and moving hastily. I didn't pull up the scripture about moving hastily, but there's a scripture that talks about don't move hastily. I think it's okay to think and consider and plan. I love to do those things, and I think those things are good. The Bible even talks about how you should consider and plan. The Proverbs 31 woman considered before she acted. But the thing is, once you think, once you consider, once you plan, it's important to act on that and move quickly afterwards and not just sit on it. The third part of this framework is to actually put in the work, put in the effort. Depending on what it is you're trying to do, it may be hard work, it may be difficult, but it's important that you put in the effort and do the work that's needed because it will pay off. There's so many scriptures in the Bible that talks about how hard work does pay off and how you will reap the rewards of your hands. Your work shall be rewarded. So again, back to the plant analogy, if you keep watering your seed, nurturing your soil, nurturing your seed, taking care of that environment so the seed can grow, you will bear fruit and you will reap the harvest. So it's important to stay consistent, keep doing the work, keep showing up, and you will reap the benefits. And not just that, but you'll see the results if you go through the framework of getting a mentor, listening to them, and acting on it, moving quickly, and putting in the effort and the hard work. You will see the results that you want, and there won't be a delay. Now, with this being said, don't forget about rest. Going back to the plant analogy, if you overwater a plant, that'll cause it to die. So in relevant terms, if you do too much, if you are trying to take on all of these things, if you're doing way too much, that'll result in burnout. And that's not what we want, because burnout slows us down. Burnout is not conducive to productivity. So we need to make sure that our environment, our seed, we need to make sure that that seed is being nurtured so that it can grow, thrive, and flourish. And it won't be able to do that if it's being overwatered. So you won't be able to accomplish your goals if you're doing way too much. Make sure you give yourself breaks. Give yourself time to breathe. Give yourself time to process. Take in the impact of your actions and see if they're actually working. See if it's moving you towards your goals and towards what you want to see. Make sure you plan rest and have a system. Have a system to where you rest on a certain day or at a certain time, and take moments and breaks to pour into yourself. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I will see you in the next one, and remember to stay productive and stay healthy. Bye.